Hi everyone, in today's video I will be showing you how I made these little bloomers. This is more of the standard bloomies, I guess. I did have another knit bloomers tutorial, but this is what everyone usually uses and what you would consider bloomers. This is a trendy little pattern. It's just their bloomers. I don't know what it's called. I think it's Lola. And I did do some modifications because, you know, yo girl, we love quick and dirty methods, and bloomers usually take a while. So I'm trying to save some time. Time is money, you know? Okay, and shout out to Christina. She really wanted me to do this video, so here you go. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so I have all the materials laid out right here, and let's jump into what they are. First of all, I'm using the 12 to 18th month size. I would say that I've heard that this pattern runs true to size, but just for my personal taste, I don't like bloomers to look too big, you know, too oversized, too bloomy. And my daughter's really small, so 12 to 18 month size works for me. And we are using French Terry today. This pattern you can use knits or wovens, but I decided to go with a more structured knit because anything too flimsy might not look right. For the elastic, it does call for like 1/2 inch and 3/8 inch, but I always use 1/4 for everything. You can always modify patterns to fit your elastic needs or what you have on hand. And the measurements for the waist and leg bands are in the pattern instructions. And here is our bias tape, but we're going to use leg bands today. And for our little mesh tool overlay, all I did is I laid out my pattern pieces like this. Oh wait, first of all, when you're cutting this out, make sure you're doing 2 mirrored images, so they should be 2 opposites of each other. But anyways, the way that I calculated the measurement for the tool is I just laid out all 3 of my pieces, and then I measured, I measured the length across here. So all of this length here was 31 inches. So I cut 2 strips at 31 inches by 4.5 inches. You can play around with the height if you want, but I think that's gonna look nice for these bloomers. If you like put it over, it's gonna be like somewhere like around there. And the color matches, so there's that. And I think that is it. So let's jump right into the first step. I'm gonna move things out of the way so y'all can see better. Okay, sorry, my daughter's going to be with us today, and I have Postmates coming soon, so if y'all hear that. Anyways, so the first step we're going to do is sew down the crotch line right here. Bam! I know it looks huge, but don't worry, in the end everything's gonna work out. So we're gonna sew that. Oh, there he is. Thank you. Anyways, so we're gonna sew that down, and then I'm actually gonna have lunch, and then I'll come back and everything. Bye-bye! Okay, here's what that looks like, and we are just going to place our front piece on top now. And we are going to sew down the sides. I don't think I mentioned it, but this uses a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And you'll notice that the crotch has to like come up here, but don't worry, we're gonna do that later on. It's all gonna work out. Okay, I'm gonna sew down the sides and come back. Okay, it looks a little weird, but I sewed down the sides and then I opened it like this so you can see the leg hole. All we're going to do is take our little band that we made. I forgot to mention this is 1.25 inches wide, and all I'm going to do is serge it on like this to create a little casing for our elastic. I prefer to do this instead of bias tape just because it goes by faster, and it even goes by faster in my opinion than folding it up and sewing it down, you know what I mean? So here's my little quick and dirty method, and I'll show you what it looks like so you can better see what I mean by this. Okay, so here's what it looks like with my little added bands. I just cut it at the exact same length. I didn't stretch it or anything. Now we're going to move on to our little mesh. I'm going to sew it down at the sides here so that I can connect it together, because remember I had 2 big strips, so we're going to sew those down, and then I'm going to show you how to add it to the bloomer. Okay, next I added some pins like this just to help me see the fold line. I don't like actually writing on my fabric and stuff. I mean, this is just for my daughter, but still. And then same for the back, that way I know to fold it right there. So then I'm going to fold it in. Okay, so I just folded it in like this, and I'm going to add pins up and down this way all around. Okay, now that I've done that, I'm going to go over to my sewing machine. You can use your sewing machine or your cover stitch, and we're going to sew all the way around by creating a little casing. So if you notice, it says this is the elastic casing, so you're just going to sew how it says here, 2 lines. We're going to do 1 line first all the way around, which is the top line, and then when we come back, we're going to do the bottom line with the tulle. If you don't have tulle, then you can just do both lines at once. And again, I'm going to be using my sewing machine. So for knits, I really like using stitch number 3, which is right over here. It's just like a little tighter than a zigzag stitch, and it works for knits. If you were to do this with woven, you can just use your straight stitch, which is 0 or 1, depending on which one you prefer. But okay, now that we have everything pinned, I'm going to place my fabric, and I like to start in the back, just so that my overlapping lines are in the back, if that makes sense. And I'm going to line up the edge, this edge here, with the edge of my walking foot. I do like using a walking foot for knit fabrics, even though this French terry is more sturdy. But again, I'm just going to use that line here to guide me. And then that's about it. I'm going to go all the way around. Okay, so for this next part, I went ahead and pinned it on because I only have one hand to work with. So I wanted to show you guys what it looks like. All I did was I put the tulle overlay and I lined it up right with the first line that we did, and I pinned it all around. But we are going to be sewing from the inside, so just make sure that either A, you're really good about removing your pins, or you can move all the pins that you put in the back and put them inside if you want to do that. But I'm just going to make sure to always double check that I'm not going to be going over the needle. And now we're going to go ahead and sew at the very edge of our casing, and then again going all the way around. If you want to be more professional, you usually leave a gap, but this is my quick and dirty method. I just sew it all the way around, and then we're going to snip a hole to slip our elastic through. My phone's dying, but next thing I'm going to do is snip a little hole around here where I would normally put my tag. Let me show you. So I have these clothing tags, so all I do is snip a hole, and then I close the hole by putting my tag on top and sewing it down. So literally just a little tiny snip, enough for our elastic to go through and for the head of the safety pin to go through. Okay, so I just decided to open up the little seam and slip it through. So now I'm going to go and put it all the way around and then close it shut and add my tag. Okay, now I have the elastic secured together, so now I'm just going to evenly spread out the elastic. I don't know how else to say that. And then we'll come back and finish the legs. And then for my tag, I just used a wide zigzag so that it covers the whole thing and you won't see the hole at all. And now let's move on to the leg. Next, for the leg elastic, I added a safety pin to both sides because sometimes I lose it. So I'm going to slip one elastic per leg, and then we're going to close it off, making sure that we grab both ends of the elastic, but I'll be sure to show you that. Okay, so this is what it looks like. I have my safety pin sticking out. Now all I'm going to do is put the ends together because we're going to sew the crotch down and add a what is it called? It's not a safety pin. Add another pin, one of these, just to hold down the elastic and make sure that it doesn't shift once we're serging the bottom together. Okay, now I have my pins added, and all I'm going to do is serge the bottom. I'm keeping all my settings the same and starting it as close to the needles as I can, and then serging it closed. Okay, and then all I'm going to do is separate my looper threads, which are going to be the longest threads, and then really pull them tight, and then tight about 2 times. Once you pull them tight, all these threads kind of come close on here, and it'll look nicer. So this is what I mean. It just ends up being a small little knot, and I'm going to clip the threads and we will be done. And here is our final product. You can definitely play around with the tool with, what's it called? Elastic sizes. I think if it was a little thicker, you know, might be more structured up there, but here's the legs and everything. And I hope that you all found this video helpful. I'll try to include a picture of it on. If not, then that's okay, but catch y'all in the next video.